Hi, book nerds. My name is Deborah.
I'm Megan.
And I'm Lance.
And this is The Middle Ground. So maybe you watched our last video about Neil Gaiman's non-fiction work, Don't Panic. Or maybe you watched our previous video about his adult fiction. But you might be wondering, is this author suitable for children?
Television? Kids? What do you people think? I'm intended for children, like the littlest, tiniest babies?
I don't even know what to do. I'm sorry, that threw me. So Neil Gaiman's magical realism tends toward the dark end of the spectrum. There are deaths, disfigurements, possessions, and otherwise some kind of horrifying things that happen to his characters. So would you expect a Stephen King children's collection? Actually, I don't know. I don't think he's written anything for kids.
No, probably not.
Yeah.
You wouldn't expect that.
But he has actually written quite a few children's books, and a fair number of them are pretty creepy.
Such as Coraline, which I've not read, but the movie, frankly, made me really scared.
The book is creepier than the movie, actually.
The Graveyard Book.
Also creepy, but very good. And Wolves in the Walls. I actually haven't read that one. I know about it, but it's also creepy. I don't know that you would enjoy that one, Debbie.
I doubt it. Yeah.
Mirror Mask by Neil Gaiman and Dave McKeon.
Yeah, and I thought that was a movie?
Oh, come on.
I don't know.
Sleep, and then some other less creepy ones, The Sleeper and the Spindle.
That's not for kids.
It's not really for kids.
No.
Kids are going to read it anyway. And then some less creepy ones like
Fortunately, the Milk.
Fortunately, the Milk.
Yeah. I don't have that
Chivalry isn't really a kid's book. But
No.
Kids could read it if they're smart kids. If they're dumb kids, they couldn't read it.
Oh yeah, Odd and the Frost Giants. It was good. It's based on a lot of Norse mythology and folklore.
I was thinking serious.
I listened to the audiobook. It was very nice.
He has also written a number of children's books that would be more suitable for actual children. For
Not
instance,
creepy kids.
Well, like we have a dear
younger.
friend, Jamie said that his first book was like Bram Stoker's Dracula. So our wonderful graphic artist who did our logo, his first book was Dracula. But
I just meant the children that I work with on a day-to-day basis, the early childhood type children, not the middle grade type children.
Yeah.
So we have a few to share with you here and talk about.
But more that we didn't. So there's Blueberry Girl.
Yeah, that one, I think I have read that one. I don't own it. But it was a poem for someone's daughter. Like, it was like a gift to his friend's daughter.
I love blueberries, so I'm
not a
need to
gift
read
to
that
his
one.
friend's Blueberry.
No, the
That
book
would
is
make
called
more
Blueberry Girl.
Yeah.
So
Well, it could have been to the blueberry.
It's a sweet little poem, and
saying it could be mine because I like blueberries. Anyway, and then there's Tuesday and its sequel, Choose First Day of School.
The Chew line.
Chew. He's so cute.
The Chew
Chew as in
series.
Chew.
chew.
The Chewlogy.
There's not a third one as far as I know.
That's why I said it's a Chewlogy.
Two as in two, a two-logy, a
something.
chew.
Okay.
And Pirate Stew.
And then there is Cinnamon.
Oh, yeah, that one's nice too. It's yeah. Oh, and this is his newest that was also a poem that was turned into a book.
And it's a poem written with contributions from many different people.
Mm-hmm. It's well, I think the artwork that was submitted, right? Or no,
No,
that's right. It was
the actual words.
Yeah. It was asked, what makes you feel warm, and people would submit kind of.
It has to do with his work with UNICEF.
Yeah.
For
with
homeless and
refugees. Mm-hmm.
And then this book, Instructions.
Yes. Which is also a poem that was an illustrated, sort of like Blueberry Girl. And What You Need to Be Warm.
So I really appreciate, these would be great read-alouds for an early childhood classroom situation, and this one would, and these two would be more of read-alouds with your own children at home snuggled up on your lap, because they have fanciful and beautiful pictures, and these are more, they have a limited text and great illustrations, which are better for a large group and, a preschool kind of setting and kids would really enjoy them, I think.
Yeah, the illustrations are adorable.
These three are much more fanciful.
See, I think this one could be for anybody.
Yes, but I'm saying for me, I would like it in a more intimate situation where I could spend time looking at and talking about the pictures with my children one-on-one than with a large group. Part of the reason I don't think that this one is great for a read aloud in a group is that it has poetry that's uneven meter and indefinite rhyme schemes, and when I read to a large group, I tend to get into a rhythm and a rhyme of the poetry a la Dr. Seuss, and this one really doesn't do that. For instance, the night my mum and dad went out, I said, "We won't be babysat." They said, "You must not grump and pout. We're going out, and that is that. We've planned a quite exciting night, and first we'll dine by candlelight, then watch a most instructive show in which we'll learn how flowers grow. You have to promise to behave." Then from the hall there came a pitter thump. We know you'll both be brave. Say hello to your babysitter." Somehow it just doesn't
have that same
flow off my tongue in the same sort of way. But anyway, it does have rhyme, but yeah.
So, and one of the things you talked about was the relationship between the kids.
Yes, there are two children who are left in the care, of...
You don't need to show it because it's up there.
I am looking at it, though. There are two children who are left at the care of a pirate, Long John McRawn, ship's cook. And, the older brother looks quite worried and concerned at their parents' judgment, and almost as though he's wondering what they've done wrong, that they have been subjected to this inappropriate caregiver. And the younger sister doesn't really even seem to notice. She is only concerned with the pirate's pet dog, who is quite cute. And if you are like me and have to touch every fluffy, cute thing that you see when you walk through a store, you can empathize with the younger of the two children.
Throughout the Chris Riddell, or Riddle, I'm not sure how he pronounces his name. Again, great work, Chris. If you happen to be watching.
Yeah, that illustrator actually works with Neil Gaiman quite a lot on various projects. There's a number of his work that he's illustrated.
I was going to say, I think we've seen that name on some of the book covers of the books we've already talked about this evening.
So Long John McRawn has a full bar in his right apron pocket, if you haven't noticed. So it looks like...
He's a pirate, though.
Vodka,
maybe that's part of the older brother's concern. He's...
like this guy's been boozing.
Is he going to be drunk?
This guy's on the sauce.
I mean, he's a pirate.
Yeah.
Rum. You know?
And throughout, one of the nice things I like about looking at this book is you can lose a lot of time in the detail in the drawings. Mm-hmm. Like it's not gram base, like where you could spend literally days looking at every single thing. But you could easily spend, like if you look at this one, there's quite a bit of detail in all of that, and quite a bit of oddness. You get to meet the pirate crew, and there's kind of a nerdy violinist and a guy who has like a boot on his head.
It's quite whimsical.
Yes. And one of Debbie's favorites is the house does at some point turn into a pirate ship.
Which I have all kinds of fantastical dreams myself, where things suddenly are something they were not. To
Well,
begin
have you read this one?
I read about
Okay.
half of it. Yeah,
It's quite
Yeah.
fantastical as well.
yeah.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the time traveling dinosaur.
Yeah.
That's in, fortunately, The Milk.
Which would also be a fun read aloud, but maybe just like with a little bit older kids, or like just a little bit at a time. Like,
Well, with children who already are beginning readers, but who you're trying to encourage to continue reading and growing
Yeah.
in their reading, so this is a good
yeah, there's a
read
lot of
aloud for like second grade.
yeah, there's a lot of fun like voices to be done in there. You know, with like vampires and
Yeah,
Yeah.
So the overall assessment for Pirate Stew?
definitely check it out. Read it at home with your children. Enjoy the crazy illustrations and yeah. Don't hire a pirate
yeah.
to babysit your children.
Not
Just read
recommended.
the book.
Then the Choose series, and I only put the pictures for Choose Day. Not for Choose First Day of School, because it's kind of a similar shtick.
Mm-hmm.
And so what is the shtick?
He's an adorable bear with an explosive sneeze.
And a flight helmet.
Well, he has to protect himself from said explosions. He believes in being prepared.
right. The helmet and the goggles are for his protection.
So when Chew sneezed, bad things happened. There was old book dust in the air. So you can see where this is going. But what do you think of dusty book smell?
I love it. I love old
Makes
books.
me think of summers as a kid exploring through, strange corners in secondhand stores looking at books and
Because there's the dusty book smell, that's kind of like the old book smell, but then there's kind of the hauntavirus smell that comes from an abandoned farmhouse. Those aren't the same smell.
no, old book smell is a good smell.
It's comforting to me.
So the shtick is like, so you guys should read this.
Are you going to sneeze? Said his mother. No, said Chew.
So the 90s irony, like the irony of the 90s really seems to come through on this. I don't know. the Gen X sort of irony, kind of the same as like in all the 90s songs where it's like, it's like roaring loud and then it switched back to like an easy chorus pedal. And then, so it's like,
Okay.
and then it goes back. All the way through until you get to the place where,
Where the
Where
whole
he
crowd
sneezes.
starts moshing?
yes.
Where he sneezes.
No, where the whole crowd starts moshing.
So anyway, the shtick is this happens kind of repeatedly through Tuesday, where he's in different scenarios where he should sneeze, like with pepper or with the book smell, and he doesn't, and then in the last place,
Don't give it away.
Yeah, spoiler alert.
No, just read the book.
Yeah, read it.
And buy it at middlegroundbooks.com.
Nice.
that was shameless. So the overall assessment on Shoe's First Day is much the same.
I mean,
The nice thing about Adam Rex, and again, Adam, good on you. Just it's so Spartan in so many places. Like you saw the other illustrations. This one kind of goes back and forth between kind of a full page and then kind of the very sparse. It's very.
but the animals are so cute.
They
Especially
are
Chew. He's
cute
precious.
as a button. Although I have
Again.
no idea why that is a phrase.
Couldn't tell you.
I've never seen anyone wearing something and say, "Oh my goodness, that button is
So cute.
amazing."
Maybe it's talking about like the kind of buttons, with the printed logos and things, not like buttons, but buttons.
That makes less sense to me. I don't know.
I don't know. I didn't make the phrase.
Our next video, we'll be discussing like
The origins of
cute,
cute
as
as
a
a
button.
button, dead as a doornail.
That one makes sense.
Other things are dead too. Why a doornail? It's in
Anyway.
Christmas Carol by Charles Dickens.
So Neil Gaiman's instructions, illustrated by Charlie Vess. Again, I think of the Charlie Vess, like all of his illustrators, they must have like a club where they get together and have a couple of beers and just are the coolest people around.
Like the Inklings.
Yeah, only they're illustrators. Mm-hmm. So, I really think this book is as much for the adult as for the child. It's sort of the market equivalent to, the places you'll go is kind of the perennial graduation gift. So what is the shtick for this book?
It's instructions on how to go on a fantastic quest in a magical realm, basically. But they also apply to
Real life.
real life, too, which is nice.
So it starts out on the first page.
Say please before you open the latch. Go through.
And really manners are important throughout this book. There's like a number of places where politesse, so just being kind,
Polite.
being courteous comes through. But the fantasy world, like you can see in this picture, it's kind of modeled on fairy tales.
Excuse our cat.
Yes, Susu has wanted to become involved.
There's the Frog Prince and Little Red Riding Hood.
Oh, yeah, the little...
And over on the other side, you can see the, I think there's the three little pigs over there. And the avatar for this is a cat person, which Megan really identifies with.
And so does Susu.
Yeah,
Yes.
our cat is telling her thoughts on the book.
And you kind of get a glimmer. The deep well you walk past leads to Winter's Realm. There's another land at the bottom of it. If you turn around here, you can walk back safely. You will lose no face. I will think no less of you. And down the well, you can kind of see the skyscrapers of our world, which is kind of an interesting thing to say. This is kind of an alternative reality. The artwork throughout is brilliant. Any thoughts?
It's lovely. Very fantastical.
Again,
Which I like.
you can spend a lot of time just enjoying the pictures.
And I'll come back to the artwork because it makes me crazy. Throughout the advice, it's not it's not like the never get your left foot mixed up with your right, like from Dr. Seuss's the places you'll go, the advice that he gives to the youngster. The advice is quite different. It's mythical and allegorical.
Remember your name. Do not lose hope. What you seek will be found. Trust ghosts. Trust those that have helped Trust those that you have helped to help you in their turn. Trust dreams. Trust your heart. And trust your story.
So, what did you guys think overall of the instructions? Or you guys in the audience too, put it in the comments, please.
It made me think deeply and reflect and realize that sometimes they make things a lot more complicated than they need to be.
Yeah, I mean, they're simple instructions, honestly. And like we said, they apply to this sort of fantastic fairy tale-like setting, but yet also...
That's not what they're really for.
Yeah.
And
I mean, this little thing at the bottom on the cover says, everything you'll need to know on your journey. I mean, yeah.
It's
applicable to every day.
It's trying to help us realize what's actually important and leave behind the adult anxiety and things that we carry that we really don't need to.
So, in lots of ways, I think that this book, it's almost up there with Where the Wild Things Are, in my assessment, with Maurice Sendak. Because I really do like this book in many ways. In some ways, however, the HarperCollins people, I kind of feel like they need a sucker punch. Like a good one. Because... Picture book? What the heck is this? Like this is like
smallish
smaller
picture.
than my hand, and they do this like they cut like this beautiful eagle illustration. They cut it in half. The beautiful fish that we had up earlier, they cut it in half. The riding the wolves, they cut it in half. Like some of the greatest artwork in this book, they just butcher it by putting it right like the 2-page spread. They put the seam right in the middle. Whereas if they had like made the book this format, they could have had so much. Like they wouldn't have had to cut anything in half if this was one. Like if the book was that format, or just stretched it out a little bit. That's the thing that annoys me about the book.
Maybe we can find a different.
I may just have to
edition.
rebuild it my own self and take the seam out so that we can read it to.
Or maybe they have other editions. We can look.
I actually looked.
Oh.
That is the only format that they have.
Throwing it.
I am throwing it.
Throwing my
So, in final assessment, is Neil Gaiman a children's author? We're going to talk about this book, but before we talk about this book, we're going to make our assessment. Is Neil Gaiman a children's author?
So
Sometimes.
Neil Gaiman himself says that as adults, we shouldn't try to decide what is appropriate for children. First of all, because we are no longer children and don't have an accurate way to assess. And secondly, if we try to become too didactic and guide children in what is appropriate to read, we might actually give them something they're not ready for, which will frighten or turn them off to reading, or something that is boring to them so that they think reading is dumb. And so he
AR.
sort of subscribes to the whole, if children are interested, help them find what they're interested in. And I guess on the whole, I would agree with that. So yeah, I am an adult, and there are lots of things that I don't choose to read. So that's just, we each have to know ourselves. And so I think his reasoning is sound in that regard.
think I recall him talking about how as a kid he read all kinds of stuff, like went through the entire library, and was fortunate to have librarians that would give things to him that they might not necessarily have been like children's literature, but he was interested in it, and so they were like, yeah, sure, read this. They didn't try to tell him, no, you can't read that. So yeah.
And even we said that these things that are many books, not just Neil Gaiman, but many children's authors, their books have many levels of meaning that speak not only to the child who's listening, but to the adult who is reading. So,
Yeah.
I think the thing to bear in mind is that Grimm's, those were never, like, those.
That's a good point.
The Grimm's brothers were doing an anthropological work. They were gathering German folk tales. How in the world, especially if you read the original Grimm's, they're fairly horrifying. And kids are like, oh, we love it. Tell it.
Well, but there's also the Disney-fied versions that are like
And I would say
cleaned up
that.
a bit.
also, there are many things that I go back and reread now as an adult that I read, or even things that I watched as a child, that a lot of things just went completely over my head.
Oh, yeah.
And so I think there's that aspect of it too, that if you are, as a parent, reading together with your child, there's a world of difference between, and it will be far better than whatever crap kids are going to find for themselves when they are handed in an iPhone or an iPad.
And that's really the thing, especially at some point we'll hopefully talk about Marianne Wolf's book, Reader Come Home, talking about especially parent-child relations in reading, and the parental presence, parental voice is a huge thing. And social media devices, flat screens, actually mirror head trauma, actually mirror actual brain damage. So I'm not going to go there now.
Which we say as we're posting this on the internet.
Exactly.
Well,
So-
we are addressing ourselves to adults, so,
Yeah, and they've already gotten all the brain damage they need.
Yeah,
So-
your lost cost.
Cheers.
I am curious, especially I know that for Jamie, Bram Stoker was what he was reading. Dragon's Teeth was one of my favorite stories. from Tanglewood Tales. I read a lot of Greek mythology when I was quite small and had it read to me. Anybody else? Earlies?
Read a lot of Dr. Seuss, but also fairy tales. Quite a lot of fairy tales. And not all of them were quite the dark Grimm's ones, but I do remember some of them were, because when I came across the original Little Mermaid tale, I was horrified and like, this is not like the Disney movie, because it's pretty sad. It's a very depressing story.
I know that my parents read aloud to me before bed when I was like really, really small, but I don't really have actual memories of that. I just know I know that it happened.
Yeah.
But the first book that I actually remember someone reading to me was my older sister reading to me Dodie Smith's original 101 Dalmatians, which is far better than the Disney.
Yeah, God save us from Disneyfied.
Anyway,
And
check
maybe
out
that's
the
an
real
important
original
question.
101 Dalmatians.
Is Disney suitable for children? I mean, there's a question of which books are too insipid to be read. With our children, when they were small, that was one of the first words that we taught them with regard to literature, was the word insipid.
Not we, you.
Okay,
No part of this.
So this book, we're not really going to review. Neil Gaiman, What You Need to Be Warm, a poem of welcome.
Winter was coming and people were going to be cold, especially people who didn't have homes because they had fled the fighting in the countries they lived in or because their houses, sometimes their towns or villages, had been destroyed. We wanted to draw attention to them and to raise money to help keep them warm. I went to social media and asked people what their memories were of being warm. Tens of thousands of people replied, each with a specific memory. I took their memories and wove them as best I could into a poem. The themes were chosen for me by the people replying. It was a poem about coming in from the cold, about physical warmth, and about the warmth of family, of friends, of safety. The poem was woven into a long green scarf. We made it into a film. The wars that had driven people to become refugees did not end, but new wars began, and more people left the places they had lived all their lives, taking with them what they could carry. And still, winter was coming. I gave the poem to UNHCR, the UN Refugee Agency, and they and Bloomsbury HarperCollins and the wonderful artists in this book bring it to you in the hope that it can help keep some people who have lost their homes, even lost their countries, warm this winter and in winters to come. Neil Gaiman.
So as we are coming into the holiday season, I'd like to have you bear this in mind. Here's just an open spread, if you want to read that, Kit.
A baked potato of a winter's night to wrap your hands around or burn your mouth. A blanket knitted by your mother's cunning fingers or your grandmother's.
And that gives you a flavor of the poem and of the artwork. We're going to post the link to that, to Neil Gaiman's work for, again, that book.
For the short film.
What You Need to Keep Warm. We'll put the post for that short film that's on YouTube there. Special thanks to Emporia Public Library for many of the books that we reviewed. And again, with all of the things that the United States government is doing wrong, go and appreciate one of the few things that they're doing right. Go visit your public library. It's free. It's amazing. They have books.
And movies. And computers.
Mm-hmm.
And games.
And
book
programs
clubs.
and activities and
Book clubs.
Great stuff.
And
Story
people
times.
that they hire to be there all day to answer whatever question you have. Like, why Guam?
I think mostly the questions are about books, but
Yeah.
Or taxes. Or getting into your email. If you don't know your password, go into your librarian and say, I don't remember my password. Or even
love
if
that.
you do remember, do that anyway.
Please. I think you're still trying to thank them.
Have pity
Yeah, I thought
on
you were
the
trying to be
librarian.
good to the library.
Have pity.
So until next time.
We'll meet you in the middle.
I feel like we need to fade out like they do in the news where the lights come down and they talk seriously to one another like they used to in the movies. Yeah, sure. Alright, so stop us. We did it. It's done. It's over.